savings in your expenditures. Then we looked at our key factor 4, which is our facilities and maintenance cost. And then our out-of-district cost, so what do we pay for sending our students outside of our district? And then our strategic plan, which is also our vision, our mission, and our core values. What you see there is just an average in Newport. An average student costs about $19,871. And the state average is $18,434. And then, as you remember, I did report out that the Richards Elementary School is a CSI school, which means it's a comprehensive support and improvement. It's on a plan to make it better. And that's through the Department of Education. Diane?
Okay, so this is the MS-26, and basically the increases and decreases by function. So the 1100s went up by $463,253. 1200 went down $513,910. 1300 went up $194,510.
Diane, can I just stop you right there?
Yep.
Could you just say, like, special education CTE programming instead of just the line number?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Do you want me to start from the beginning or just where I left off?
Well, 1100 was regular programs, 1200
Okay,
special
so-
education,
okay.
yeah.
1300 CTE program is 194,510. Other instructional program is a negative 13,184. I'm sorry, 36,184. Student support services is up 244,516. Instructional staff services is up 188,539. General administration is 5,170. School administration's 172,878. Business office is down $97,047. Building operations is up 401,563. Transportation is up 46,242. Information technology is up 89,626. Food service operations is up 38,970. And bond interest and principal is up 91,701. So the total budget increase is $1,289,827. The next slide is the default budget. This is the other MS-26 with the default initials after it. A regular programs is up 228,670. Special ed is down 141,291. CTE programs is 16,378. Other instructional programs is down 3,571. Student support services is up 192,356. Instructional staff services would be up 12,668. General administration would be down 46,447. School administration is 87,859. Business services is 1,676. Building operations is 8,606. Transportation is 18,503. Information technology is 81,768. Food service operations is a negative 4,530. Bond interest and principal is 91,701 for a total increase of the default budget of 540,994. Okay, the next slide is the support staff negotiations. Now this is a little bit different than what's on the warrant article, because the warrant article is the support staff at the time that we negotiated. This includes new hires that would be added for a total of $369,447.
All right, so we're going to start off talking about the budget, and we'll start off with the school board as far as what the fees are. So, like I said to you, we're going to be reporting out anything that is $5,000 or more. So the first thing that we had an increase of in the school board budget was in the legal line, and that was for $5,000 even. The second one we had, it was advertisement, that also went up, $5,004. This is because we have different ways to advertise now. Before we just had one way. Now we're trying to advertise multiple different ways. Then the next one that is going up would be the cost of living raise for administration. That would be my cost of living raise. Then the next line, you'll see that we have a decrease, and the decrease is $46,983. And the reason why that's a decrease to the superintendent line is because that was actually moved from my line into a curriculum line. The same with the next line, which is for the insurance, health insurance, which was $29,661. That is also a decrease, and that is the same thing because the funds were moved to the curriculum line. Then the last one, then we go into the, again, the superintendent. Funds were this for $6,742. That is also down because of the fact that funds were moved from that line to the curriculum line. And then I'm going to have Diane talk about, is there any questions so far regarding? No questions? Okay, perfect. Diane, if I can have you talk about the business office, please.
So the business office, the administration line, the COLA increase from my position. And then we removed the overtime from my budget, so we decreased it $7,500. Trying to get to the next slide. So HRA is an increase of $40,000. That's for health insurance claims. And then the bond, the principal bond payment of $88,200 for the CTE. It's been added.
I also want to let everyone know that we do have available I think in the packets you have, the packets that were out here for community members is a smaller version of the presentation as well as the full budget and all the changes in them. So it includes other than the 5,000. And so now we're going to go to curriculum, instruction, and professional learning, and I'll let Bren Kane discuss that one, please. Thanks.
All right, so the bulk of my budget, a lot of mine was really pulled from other budget lines to create a district level curriculum line. The salaries that are in here include my salary, the data coordinator, and the grants administrative assistant for those 3 positions, and all benefits included. Books and printed materials district-wide for programming, software and licensing for all educational tools, and tuition, reimbursement, staff development, which are included in the CBAs for both staff and support, teachers and support staff. And then some extra curriculum work stipends for staff and teachers. And the $50,000 that starts out first for books and printed materials is in order for us to make gains in the areas of reading, writing, math, social studies, science. We'll be looking at purchasing new math programming along with some upgraded science and social studies materials. So that is really important to help push us forward. The $54,761 increase is coming from the line Donna was just referring to. You'll see that noted in the reason and justification. So that position came into my lines along with the health insurance, and it is a little bit more of a cost because of cost of living. This is the software and licensing line. So as I stated, a lot of my funds came from other schools and other lines in those schools. So you'll see down the left-hand side, you'll see Richards preschool, middle school, high school. Those are all subscriptions and licenses for educational software, such as Mystery Science, Reading A to Z, Power School, big STAR testing, the Edmentum, Renaissance, all of that stuff. The big items that we use are all now here. So like I said, we're just looking to allocate time for staff to work on improving the curriculum and making sure everything's aligned, providing professional development opportunities, making sure that we're transparent with all of that and what we're doing in the schools with skills and concepts, and so the community can see what we're doing. Frontline professional development learning management system we just implemented, and we're going to be continuing with that. Mentoring is a huge part of our new staff, and we want to continue that and make it better. as well as creating a mentor program for new paraprofessionals and support staff in our district, because we don't currently have one, and it's really important, as well as being part of their CBA. SEL programming, as we've talked about here several times, making sure that social, emotional, mental awareness, behavioral health, and all of that is at the forefront of our minds when we're talking about curriculum. And along with that, bringing in responsive classroom training for all staff to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And that will be a grant-funded activity. Just wrapping it up, I think I mentioned this, but just moving a lot of things from lines to my line, making sure that we have district-wide materials and books for students and for teachers, and moving those two positions, or moving one position into my lines is pretty much where my budget came from.
Is there any questions regarding curriculum instruction in those lines?
You mentioned a couple times.
Go to the mic, Lisa. Sorry.
Sorry, Lisa.
So it's come up a couple times, the COLA. What is the percentage of the COLA increase? 5%. Thank you. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
So you said this is a new line, the 50,000, the first one, I think that you agreed?
Yeah.
New. Is any of that money coming from the backside where you're taking 64,000 from the other schools?
One is books and one is software, right?
Yeah, so there's software and then there's books and printed materials. They're two separate things. The books and printed materials is new. There never was district. Schools still have their books and materials, because they have to keep up with current programming, like they're currently using Foundation, so they would use their individual school budget to purchase those. But this is for any new programming we're bringing in. After that first year, the district would be, each school would be responsible for upkeeping those curriculum, those programs.
Okay, my next question is, you said that social emotional learning is at the forefront of anything that you buy. Can you describe what social emotional learning has to do with algebra? Like, what are you looking for in an algebra program that puts social emotional learning?
I think
at
it's
the
more
forefront?
along the lines of making sure we have social emotional curriculums and programs put in place, as well as algebra. So not necessarily an algebra program that is focusing on SEL.
All right.
Making students be able to access their curriculum. Student comes in and isn't
Regulated or has other needs that aren't being met, they're not going to be able to do algebra.
I just, that was the way it was worded, just confused me.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions for curriculum? All right, so now we're going to move on to student support services. If I can have Carrie please present on that. Thank you.
So I just think it's important when we talk about student support services, a lot of people just think special ed, and so I put up there everything that is kind of encompassed under the student support umbrella. So, special education is a piece of it, but the 504 plans are school nurses, the health services, school counseling, English language learner instruction, homelessness, school social worker, and then our MTSS or behavior support is another piece of it, along with the social emotional learning that Bryn was just talking about. So I think it's important to have that view when we look at student support services. So with that in mind, the following items, mostly for my budget, is just taking items from the building level and compiling them in a district budget instead of leaving them at the building level. Because students' needs range, it makes it easier so that you can use it from a district perspective versus individual schools. So the school safety officer, for example, a district school safety officer, instead of dividing his salary by each building, having a district position that services all the building, it just makes a little bit more sense. Out of district tuition, again, out of district costs aren't by building, it's by student, and students can be in various grades. So having an out of district tuition line as a district versus in each individual school. Same with related service providers, so those are things like OT, PT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, things along those lines. And then instructional programming materials. So those are things like research-based instruction that we do with students. And then the increase of paraprofessional positions, that was the one increase, is that the middle and high school paraprofessional positions. It's been level funded for some time now, so it really has not been based on student needs. So really taking a look at our students' needs and making sure that we have available staff to support them. So again, this is an increase. It's the books and printed materials, and so it's coming from each line. So it's an increase of 8,785, but the majority of it was pulled from each line. School safety officer is an increase of 22,000, but the majority of the salary was in each line for Richards Middle School and high school. Then we have a decrease, so that's the admin assistant, and I think it's just because of different people holding different positions. Physical therapy, it is down. And then you have the physical therapy below, and it just kind of maps out where things are at for each building.
Can I just go back to that?
Yep.
So what I want to talk about is, so if you'll see that if you look at that line item on the budget, it shows $80,000. It looks like that line item is actually increasing by $80,000. However, what's happening is each one of those, so if you look at Richards, we're taking all that money from Richards. The middle school, we're taking all that money from the middle school. The high school, we're taking all that money. So in a sense, it's going down. The amount is going down. So
District-wide, it's going down.
District-wide, it's going down.
Because you pulled from the other.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Because again, that's driven by student need, not building need. So whether or not a student gets those services, it depends on the student and where the student's located, not by building.
Good. Yeah, you'll see a lot of that in Carrie's budget, where she's pulling from other buildings. So the amount, it may cost $80,000, that line item may be $80,000. However, the money is coming from other buildings, so it's not going to be $80,000.
So next up is Richards, and it shows as a decrease in my budget, but it's truly, it's actually moving over to Rob's budget, and you'll see that later on, and that is the not special education, the teachers in the preschool program, I apologize. And then there was an increase in instructional salaries for related service providers, and that is just a cost of living increase. And then it looks like at Richards there was a decrease in paraprofessional, and that was just based on the numbers. It looks like there's a decrease of 2 paraprofessionals to take place for next year. There's a decrease in the health insurance. Again, it's based on the current special education numbers at Richards. And then a decrease in the special ed programming, instructional special ed programming, based on numbers again. This is all based on student need. A decrease in the retirement. Those are all related to that.
Contracted services?
Yep, and then contracted services, this service was moved back to a district position. So this school year that we're in right now, we were unable to hire for contracted services for a speech pathologist at Richards, so we're contracting out. So it will come out of the contracted service line and move back into, because ideally we'll be able to hire a speech pathologist in real life that comes to Richards and serves the students. And again, that's the same, the contracted service. Then we have an equipment that was moved to a district line under building and grounds. And then we have, so our ESOL teacher, the health insurance is decreased. Again, it's related to the elected health plans of the particular individuals. The decrease in psychological services, this position has been moved to ESSER grant. So contracted services, this is an other, this was moved back to an in-district for speech pathology, audiology. And then, so again, that's hiring a person and moving it in as a salary. So you can see next up down there, we have an increase in the health insurance for speech pathology, an increase in FICA and the COLA for speech pathology, and an increase in, again, because of COLA, for speech. Physical therapy.
You talk about your facing right?
Physical therapy is a decrease because we're looking to contract out. The amount of physical therapy we need is not necessarily significant. So we're looking to contract that out for following years. And then, and it's a very difficult, tricky position, and has been for some time, for us to hire somebody. And so that is why that's looking to decrease. And then occupational therapy is an increase. And that's basically reflective of who we have holding positions and their degrees and years of expertise. Again, there's just a special ed administration health insurance increase just because of the cost of living. Then we have on here preschool, the special education program paraprofessional salaries is an increase due to COLA. And then the health insurance is listed as a decrease, and that is because of the movement of the preschool teachers to the regular education budget line. And then we have instructional special education program salaries is a decrease, and that's, again, because the preschool teachers were moved to that regular education line. And the same is true here of the program salaries for retirement. And then we have in the middle school, we have a decrease for a teacher salary, and again, the position remains. However, you have different people holding those positions and different years of experience and degrees. An increase in the paraprofessional line. Again, I had spoken before about an increase in paraprofessional positions at our middle and high school. And the reason behind that is really student need. And so the increase also carries over to health insurance, FICA, and retirement as well. There's a decrease in other professional services, and these funds will be used to hire district people rather than outside contracts. So again, those are people that we've contracted with historically that we're hoping to have positions filled. There's an increase due to cost of living for psychological related services and health insurance related to that. Speech pathology, again, there's an increase, is overall increase is not reflective of the positions, but degrees and years of experience. Same with physical therapy is a decrease, and that talks about contracting that out for next year. Occupational therapy is a increase, and that is again reflective of positions, is not reflective of positions, but rather degrees, years of experience. Occupational health, the health insurance piece, and then the district executive assistant is a decrease at the middle school, moved to reflect in one position under the high school budget. So essentially, historically, there's been a special education administrative assistant at the middle high school. It's been split between the two buildings. It's now just reflected in the high school's budget, but would still be servicing special ed for both buildings. The high school, you have a decrease in a teacher. Positions remain the same, however, salaries differ based on years of experience. So I think that not a decrease of a teacher, but a decrease in the line item due to teacher experience. Paraprofessional, again, there's an increase there, and that is due to the middle and high school increase for paraprofessional support based on student needs. Same is true of the health, FICA, and retirement under those line items. Contracted services at the high school, again, these funds will be used to hire district personnel versus outside contracts. And then other professional services is a decrease, and that is used to occupational therapy. So that was something we had to do for an occupational therapy position within our district was created. And then salaries is an increase due to cost of living, and that increase was a teacher increase at the high school, again, due to the cost of living. This is another cost of living, salaries admin assistant. And so that is another, and then health insurance as well, same thing. And then there's a decrease in books, software, and licensing, which that was moved to the curriculum line. And then an increase in psychological related services and health insurance, again, cost of living and changes in positions. Speech pathology is an overall decrease, which is not reflective of positions, but rather degrees. Same with the health insurance, occupational therapy, you have an increase there, and again, this is coming from a different line, other professional services. Occupational therapy health is an increase, but again, it's coming from a different line. Salaries for the executive assistant, so that is an increase due to cost of living. Insurance is another increase due to cost of living, degrees, and years of experience, and then the teacher retirement.
Is there any questions for special ed?
General question, do you have any more handouts?
Who needs one? There should be, is none sitting right there in the chair?
They're gone. She can have my.
Well, we have extra here.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if our staff took them.
Oops,
Sorry about that. I think my staff may have taken the copies that were sitting there, so I apologize for that. All right, so Rob, the building principal at Richards, is going to speak since there's no questions regarding special ed. So Rob, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So looking at next year, we're looking to restructure our administrative team at Richards, home of the Tiger Cubs. Okay, we're looking to go principal, assistant principal, and add a student support specialist. Okay. The increase of the budget would be what we heard earlier, the 2 preschool teachers who were under the special ed budget line would be moved to the regular ed budget line. And you'll see that reflected in the changes. And then adding the student support specialist. So this hasn't really changed much, but just for us to understand that we have 29 current classrooms, general education 4 special ed classrooms. Our average size isn't going to change a whole lot, 14 in general education class size, and up to 16 in preschool. I will say this, though, in the last 2 months, we've increased 14 students at Richards. So it does, yeah. So we're just, yeah. They hear how good we are. And now we're going to go over the changes. Thank you. No. So the first one you'll see the due to cost of living and contract, $38,000 increase for salary teachers. Then we see a decrease in salaries for substitutes, $25,000 decrease. It's based on a 3-year average. It would be nice to have substitutes to pay, but I think that reflects what the trend is for substitutes. Health insurance, we see it's an increase of $23,695 based on living increases in COLA, et cetera. And then retirement teachers down due to staff decrease by $87.70. For our software licensing, we moved that down $18,000. We moved that over to the curriculum development. And as for the furniture, that moved over to maintenance. Okay. You'll see that reflect in those budgets. Summer school teaching salaries reduced. This is now going to be grant funded, $10,000. And supplies and materials. So we put a lot of money in the past couple of years into our media center, and if you've gone in, you'll see the big changes. So we're at a point where we don't need to keep adding to that. We'll see how it goes and reflect, and then down the road. But right now, that's a decrease of $5,036. In our software licensing, as we said earlier, that's moved over to curriculum development, 5459. Salaries administrator, cost of living increases $7,600. For our salaries, director, coordinator, and executive assistant. So that's our student services coordinator, $50,000 added to the budget. Okay. The salaries administrative, up $7,452, and that is based on the contract. Again, insurance and health up $27,676 due to cost of living. Retirement teacher, again, up $9,873. Now, this is where we get into preschool. We've taken the teacher salary out of the special ed and moved $109,000 into the regular ed salary line, and which also affects our insurance and health, and that's increased to $33,487. Any questions on those? So what we see here, we've already talked about this, we're shifting 2 preschool teachers from instruction to special ed, and increased the budget $173,283. And then we've added the student support specialist, which the overall budget increase is $74,470. So just for, I think it's important for us to understand that Richards this year, we've added our school leadership team. I can tell you that this, just by doing this, the communication and, and the collaborative engagement, teachers are the professionals in the classroom or in the school, and getting their input and having them involved with the decisions that we make are extremely important, and it's a wonderful team. We're in our second year of vertical learning teams, and this year we added 2. We added one lower vertical learning team, 1, 2, and 3 grades 1, 2, and 3, and then we've added a second one, or added one into the upper VLTs 3, 4, and 5. We do have 2 second grade classrooms that are separate. We call them the parallel learning teams, which work together, and then we have 2 fourth grade. Okay, and as we move forward next year, we'll make some decisions on how we can incorporate them into vertical learning teams. I think that, we're in our second year with that. I think it's certainly a very positive approach, but we're in our sophomore year, and we learned things that we didn't know last year, and we hope in our third year we're going to make better gains and have some good discussion around how we can make it more efficient. Okay, staff are working extremely hard to make it work, and so we have some discussions to see and reflect on where we're at, but we want to continue with that next year. Increase in family engagement and opportunities. I don't know if you were able to make it to our math night, Title I math night, which was, we had quite a few turnout for that, and our K1 and 2 concert, okay, at Richards. Now, the 3, 4, and 5 at the Opera House was outstanding. But to see over 150 parents and families walk in the doors, sit in the gymnasium, and watch the concert was just a wonderful thing. So we're increasing our family engagement. We'll be having our bingo nights, math bingo nights, and along with other things coming up. So it is important to have the community back in our doors. Okay. Early education classrooms, the preschool and kindergarten. I said it the first time I was up here. I'm totally impressed with preschool teachers, okay, and kindergarten teachers. The improvements and the gains since the last time I was here, it's incredible. So we are very fortunate to have preschool and kindergarten, but not actually kindergarten, but preschool in the building with us. It is amazing. Plus, you have to have a special gift to do preschool.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my goals is to be able to do a whole class in preschool, but I'm not sure I'll get that. I did a lunch, that was enough, thank you very much. Okay. So, student personal growth, we're going to continue with the competency-based learning. That's our focus. We know we're a CSI school, and we are focusing on that. Not that we're teaching to the test, but we're exposing, okay, what is required for students to be successful, okay, and to look at our curriculum and really reflect on where we're at and what is best for our students in order to improve that. Okay, that's our goal. Okay. We're going to maintain unified arts opportunities in the area of music, art, physical education, and library media. The guidance piece, we're still without a guidance counselor. We're working to improve that. We're also looking to bring in turning points to provide some of that, some of those curriculum needs for our students. But our goal, naturally, is to be set up with a guidance counselor. There's a huge need. Not only is there a huge need for a student support team, but also for guidance, okay? And supporting in the classrooms and teachers. Our SEL program, and I'll talk more about this, we started out with Harmony this year, and now we're looking at going to Choose Love, okay? And so we're making that a priority, okay? Students are coming in, if we can't meet them where they're at, both emotionally and as well as academically, okay, we're not going to do the job, okay? And because of technology situation, we're going to integrate technology instruction to individual classrooms as much as we can. We have to really talk about how we're going to do this, and through our specials, unified arts. It's extremely important that we do tackle that. It's just a process we're going to have to work on this spring. And school climate and culture, like we said, provide a dedicated time on our daily schedule, which we do each morning, for our social emotional learning. Again, we're going to make a change over from Harmony to Choose Love. We are implementing our positive behavior intervention support initiative school-wide. This month is Respect, and the teachers and the students are probably sick and tired of me getting on every morning and talking about respect. So self-respect, respect for others, and now respect, especially out in the playground. That's another discussion. So, but we're implementing that. Next month will be Kindness Month, and then we'll go on to ownership, academic excellence, and relationships. So we want to continue to do this throughout the year as part of what we do as a whole school, and not just isolated. We are beginning the multi-tiered support systems, okay, and moving into the spring, and we'll start implementing that and have a grant or have monies for that to happen. So we look forward to doing that. That is going to be a piece of, a very important piece of Tier 1 interventions in the classroom as we move to our restructuring. And then we continue to provide social emotional support. Tier 3, we have the partner program, we have the refocus room, and we will continue to look at how we maneuver and navigate with those rooms. And that's it. Any questions? Do I have to move? Oh, no, go ahead. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I know it's not easy preparing a budget. I had a question about the books, printed materials line. And Bryn, you mentioned in yours that any new initiatives like the math, I'm assuming, okay. Because Mr. Clark also mentioned that we've gotten 14 students since Thanksgiving?
Last two, yeah.
Yeah. And some of those students have come in with needs. One of the things that happens when we get a new student is all of a sudden we're scrambling for a foundations book for that student or a handwriting book for that student because this, handout we had is, I think Ashley, she was very conservative and ordered enough for, I had 16 students, she ordered 16 books. And then all of a sudden we have new students. So I'm just a little nervous. That seems like a very conservative line. Especially, those foundations materials are expensive. So just thinking about that and also looking at the special ed line, what happens with the budget when we get 14 students moving in and they have needs and we haven't budgeted for them? What happens in that case?
That's one of the reasons why what we've done is we've gone to a district, right? So before how it was building-based. And so what it looked like is, and I'm just using small numbers, so $2,000 was for Richards. So if a kid came in, and two kids came in, it was now $4,000. Well, you only have $2,000, right? So this way now it's district. So if you have kids that come in, the $4,000, it would come from district now. So it's more individualized to the needs of the students, not necessarily to the school. We're going to the needs of the students.
And I think you hope there's enough fluctuation, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially throughout the district, right? With kids leaving, kids coming, that it kind of offsets itself. And when you go, like Don was saying, to that whole district, there's more opportunity for that, right? Like, you have kids that, may, start taking the high set or do other things at the high school level, which will open up space for maybe somebody else who moves into the district. Something like that. It's just a small example.
It does seem like the students who are coming in are coming in with needs that we hadn't planned on.
We order like 10% over? Because that was a original question.
I mean, yeah, so my goal, like, I wasn't here when we ordered stuff before for this current school year. I would never order exactly 16 if Lisa has 16 kids.
Usually do 20.
Yeah. I usually round it up so they have like 5 to 10 more depending on the grade and the material that it is.
Good, thank you.
Jeff Kessler, you mentioned this is the second year of the vertical learning, program. Last year I was at a presentation in this room, and it was the first year, and it involved a couple of classes in each grade level. Is this expanding to cover more classes? And in the third year, is it something that's going to be integrated into the day-to-day life of the school?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can expand on that, what.
You're talking about at the
So,
elementary
The
level?
vertical learning.
Yes.
So the vertical learning, we did go from one team in the lower VLTs and one team in the upper. And this year we went to 2 in the lower and 2 in the upper. And next year we have to look at the size of our team. It started out last year's 3. We have a couple teams that were 4. We have some outliers, and plus it all depends on the number of students moving from one grade to the next. So that's going to influence the decision on how we incorporate. If we can incorporate all, that's fine. We may not be able to, but we'll assess that.
You've been satisfied with the results?
Yeah, I mean, in the second year, I think so. I think it's definitely worth continuing. I think we're trying to help students by not only having a single adult in the classroom, we have 3, possibly 4. okay, and we can work together in supporting the needs of our students. That doesn't mean that we won't look and assess the effectiveness of it, because I think after 3 years, we're going to have to make a decision if we continue to go this direction. But I think right now, we need some more data. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to have Mr. Bailey, Dave Bailey from the middle school, reporting on his budget.
Hello. So with the middle school, one of our big projects is to restructure the administrative team from a principal and a dean of students to a principal and assistant principal, and that's to sort of align the way admin works throughout the entire district, so kids have the same experience, whether they're starting in Rob's school or going all the way into Shannon's school. Sorry, Shannon.
I completely understand.
Yeah. So these are our classroom allotments and things. They're not really changing for next year. Some of the numbers have gone down for the anticipated class sizes, but like Rob had 14 kids move in, so they could change. So that's just that. Moving on to the increases and decreases in the budget, we had $116,233 for cost of living increases in the teacher contract agreement increase. We had a $10,000 decrease in substitutes. Again, like Mr. Clark, we'd love to have some substitutes, but we haven't really been able to have them. And then $27,145 for cost of living increases in insurance for the teachers, and $8,131 for FICA. And then some more with the retirement, which is $13,353. We took a decrease of $5,000 from furniture because that moved to the facilities or building operations services budget line. You can see there. And we had a decrease of $5,000 in summer school salaries because that's going to be covered by a grant. And we had an increase for administrator salaries of $13,553. That's with the cost of living increases and to supplement some of the switch over from the dean of students to assistant principal line. The dean of students position was $55,697, so that came over to that line as well. But the total increase is $13,553 for next year. The decrease here is from the next line with directors, coordinators, executive assistants. That's where the dean of students was. As you can see, the $55,697. And then an increase of $5,028 for cost of living increase for the administrative assistant, and a decrease in insurance because due to the change of coverages. And see, so we're looking to establish an academic resource center through a grant for a tutor, as they would provide small group and individual needs assessment, support, testing, makeup, and assignment help, Tier 2 academic interventions, and district-wide testing support when we're doing STAR testing and things like the SAS, and oversight for individual remote learning, although I think a lot of the kids are kind of done with remote learning at this point, but they could come back to it. And then, like we talked about before, shifting the administration model over to, one, provide a more fluent experience for the kids, but two, to help with the overall observation and evaluation of teaching staff, and provide school-wide coverage for student discipline and supporting students with lagging behavioral skills, which is a little bit of work in progress here at the middle school. Move to the next slide. So the overall increase to the The middle school general budget with the assistant principal is $564, an increase, with that replacing of the assistant principal for the dean of students. And that's the middle school budget.
This side of the table, do we have that grant, or are we still looking for it?
One of two ways. We can either look through for the grants that we currently have, or I've been working, also been working with the county commissioner regarding it. When he came the other day and he spoke about some of the grants that I've been working with him on, that is one of them. That and a mental health worker as well. So.
Okay.
One of the things I just wanted to, before we speak, is I know the board, you know, we have a lot of parents that are coming in talking about the behaviors in the middle school. This is one of the other things we want to put in place, to help curb those behaviors. Is there any question for, you were done, right? Was there any questions for middle school? No?
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Braley.
thank you. All right, moving on to Shannon. She did not change her name. At the high school.
Careful, I've been known to call people by the wrong name sitting here, so.
I did that at one of our meetings the other day, our PD day.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the high school, we're looking to basically maintain our administrative structure. So you'll see the principal, assistant principal, student support specialist. We have it kind of, we're renaming it, or more appropriately naming it. So essentially, our student support specialist started out as our building security position or a campus monitor. And I would say that over time, in response to the behaviors and the needs of our building, we've realized that you can't just send somebody through the hallways catching kids doing wrong. You needed somebody who could process with your students and help them to, you know, not repeat that same behavior over again. So you'll see a decrease in one area, but really it's the same position moving to our student support specialist to be a more accurate description of our structure in the high school. Does that make sense to people? Okay. The other request that I had on that before you motor me along is an increase of a math teacher and a science teacher, and later on in my presentation I'll explain why I think that that is very essential for the students in the high school. Now you can go ahead, thank you. Pretty much similar in class sizes from our current class size of 18, anticipated keeping it to about 18. Our tech class sizes are smaller. They average around 16 depending on the programs, and that's a safety issue with the lab stuff. And in general, we'll keep the same number of special ed classrooms. We will increase, I'm hoping to free up a space to add a classroom space for next year. So as Donna said earlier, these are just the changes to my budget that were $5,000 or more. I think everyone has a copy of the more detailed version. And essentially what you'll see on each of these pages is either a shift to a different area in the budget or cost of living, negotiated agreement changes, that kind of thing. So the first line, salaries and teachers, that's an increase based on those agreements as well as cost of living. You'll see substitutes were moved out, and that was actually a decrease, sorry, not moved out. A decrease, what we did is we looked at a 3-year average of spending over time. And yes, I would love more substitutes. We would all, substitutes are hard to come by. Insurance changes, FICA changes are listed on here as well. My time's up, thank you. Oh, you can go on to the next one. I thought you did, and then you went back. That's okay. So what you see reflected here, the first thing is for the $10,518 is if we were able to add the 2 positions requested. And you can also see software licensing. That shifted over to curriculum under Bryn's line, as she described. Our furniture, 10 grand, moved over to Rodney. And athletic equipment, again, looking at that 3-year spending average, was an increase of $10,452. The salaries here that are listed are part of our summer school program, and we're hoping to grant fund the summer school teacher positions. So that's the minus in our budget here for 15. Contracted services for driver's ed is based on our enrollment, and that program essentially pays for itself too, just to remind people of that. Salaries, again, change in cost of living. And the last thing would be that reorganization that I described of that school security campus monitor to student support role. And again, this is a change based on the cost of living to an admin assistant. Any questions on these? They were, I don't want to go too quick if you did. Yes, Lisa.
Just if you could reiterate, like explain the driver's ed, so parents pay.
So parents pay tuition for driver's ed. I don't recall the current cost off the top of my head. I don't want to tell people the wrong, but you pay to participate in driver's ed. It's run through our district, but it's after school hours. It's still on our facility, and I will say they have a remarkably high success rate. I don't think any kid has failed at driver's ed or getting their license, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, it pays for itself in revenues. Do I have that correct, Diane?
Offsetting revenues the same amount, so it's
Yeah.
on both sides.
Just because in the budget, we're not showing the revenue, so it looks like the driver's ed teacher's making $74,000. So I just want everyone to be
no,
clear
it's-
that.
Yeah.
The
It's,
taxpayers are not paying that.
right, so there's a revenue
Correct.
for 49.2, and there's a, I think it's 49.2. There's a revenue for 49.2, and then there's an expense for 49.2.
Yeah. But the revenue is on the other revenue
Right.
sheet.
Driver's ed does pay for it itself. So, thank you, Lisa. All right. This is a slide that I brought to the board earlier this year, and really it's to show the difference between school year 17-18. So on the left-hand side, you have the number of teachers, and I want to point out, obviously, we know that our size has decreased. So over the years, the number of credentialed teachers in our high school has gone down from 22 and a half positions in the high school to 16. And the impact to our students, if you again just looking at the bottom line here, is I could offer 132 plus sections to our student, and now I can offer 94 different course sections to our student population. I mean, when you look at the numbers, you could probably understand why parents at home or kids who are watching this, which is awesome if they are watching this, you can understand why kids are saying things like, I couldn't get into that class, or they weren't offering another section. This is why. This is one of the main reasons, okay? Certainly there's other factors that get into that. But I've requested just 2 more teaching positions in an effort to really offer more to our students. It's not even new. It's asking that we start to return to what we once could do for our kids. And the only other thing I want to point out is the burden this places on your teaching staff. These teachers who come every day, and I think this is district-wide, I want to be clear, it's not unique to the high school. The same number of students still come, even when the teacher numbers decrease. We're still offering almost all of the programming and the clubs and the advisories and the leadership teams and National Honor Society that we did back in the 17-18 school year. But now I have 16 teachers, for example, who are running those programs for our students. And so the burden placed on our teaching staff is incredible. I don't know how to stress that other than to try to put numbers up there for you. You add to it things like, not only are you expected to teach biology and the competencies there, but as Bryn said, social emotional learning. We're trying to address a whole child here, not just, all right, everyone come in, open your textbook. You come in, hey, how you doing? Ready to get started today? I'm glad you're here. It's little things, but they make a world of difference with our kids. But it's still yet another thing that we have there and we count on our teachers for. Any questions on that? I know I put...
You count physics as a math class, not a science class?
Honestly, you could go either way, but yeah, we put it more on the math. There's a lot of math.
No, I don't know.
It's a cool class. I know you know when I can offer it. So our reality is right now, it was hard for me to tell you guys this number before, but I have 34 students in the high school who have full schedules. Yeah. How many students do you have? I have just shy of 300. So you can't say this is just my seniors, you can't say it's just my juniors, where we do support kids with work-based learning and internships. 34 students with a full schedule, I find downright alarming and unacceptable, and I hope you do too. We offer our students the bare minimum to earn a 23 credit Newport diploma. And for example, our top students have fewer choices. Really what we've done is, because our numbers have gone down with our teaching staff, we've focused on the bare minimum required to earn that high school diploma, because that is the goal, right? Get your diploma. Or is the goal to be well prepared for the workforce and the world we live in today? Because I think we could be doing better than a minimum diploma. And so my hope, again, would be to offer more to these students. It's not just our top students, but it's also, we have 3 pathways. We've said that we wanted to support for our kids, and one of those pathways is an honors pathway. And that's an opportunity for students to earn college-level credit while still in high school at a drastically reduced, if not free, cost. And so in our community, that can have a very huge impact for a student and their future. So just to play out the numbers, a math teacher, everything included with their FICA, retirement, unemployment, puts you at $81,921. So that's for a math teacher as well as a science teacher. And again, this last position that you see up here, that's just the change in renaming, reorganizing that student support specialist position. I think that was all for high school.
Is there any questions?
Sorry, my question was, what step were those math and science teachers at?
It's a BA 8.
BA step 8? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there any questions?
I didn't write that down. So. Can I just repeat
The
his
question was.
You can repeat it.
I'll
Okay.
repeat the question. The question was, do we use VLAX courses? So VLAX is a virtual charter school, and if students choose to enroll in it, we can't enroll them in it, but we do work with students if they want to transfer credits in, and that's how we treat it, like a transfer credit. I want to be clear that VLAX is not for everyone. It's very intrinsically motivated. You have to keep track of your own timeline, and you have to have good Wi-Fi. So that's a challenge for some of our students too. We do, however, offer our library media center for anybody who wants to take virtual courses and still be on site, which we have some students to take advantage of that. I had one kid, I think she was taking, wasn't Chinese, but it was one of the languages we weren't offering here, but was very passionate about it. So maybe it was German. We used to offer that. Which worked out great because our Spanish teacher actually knows a little German, so she could support the teacher in that. I think it was German. Thank you, Chad.
I would just like to say that I think it's unacceptable that 34 high school students have a full schedule.
We're going to keep working on it. 2 teachers will not fix it, but it will help.
It will help.
How many classes are considered a full schedule? Like, what is the bare minimum to be considered full? Does every class have to be filled?
8
or is
hours
it
a day.
Yeah.
8 hours a day.
Do you have to
Just like
repeat-
we used
do you
to
have to
when we
repeat
were
her question?
Your age?
I'll repeat Bella's
3:15 in the
question.
afternoon, sitting there.
Uphill both ways.
Mr. Morris wants you there all day. It's just over a 6-hour day, but
Because his daughter's already graduated.
she can come back. She knows where to find me. So Bella asked what we consider a full day. So for the purposes of this report to you, I said every student had their full schedule. So depending on what courses they took, some students have quarter-long blocks or a skinny, so it's either an 80-minute or more of a 45. And so I looked at who had a full schedule, so there weren't learning labs and open blocks. So some of our students, it's appropriate for them to have an open block, their work study, and that would be good. But for, only 34 students to have filled with something, very low. And I'm sure you've heard your peers talk about that, being in a learning lab that they didn't want. Yeah. So we're going to try. We're going to just try to go the other way with it, is the goal. There are obviously some other factors. Like I said, it's not just teachers. We're looking at our schedule and how best to pair blocks and skinnies, if you will, in the high school world, so that we don't have these course conflicts for kids. But it's very hard when we only offer one section of one class, because I've got one teacher that's also doing our core requirements for a diploma. It gets complicated quick.
All right, Shannon's going to stay up there because she's actually going to go over the CTE, the Sugar River Valley Regional Tech stuff.
Yes, yes. And full disclosure, I am not nearly as animated or entertaining as Eric. I will try. He's not feeling super well today. So really, Eric wanted to just remind everyone, in case you weren't aware, it's the year of the renovation next year. We're very excited about, basically bringing our CTE programs up to par. So, and even ahead if possible. So really try to plan ahead. Looking at rebranding and working on an independent name. I don't know if you know anybody who's gone to the wrong Sugar River Valley Regional Technical Center, but we've had that happen. So we have sister sites, if you will. You have one in Newport and one in Claremont. Lots of exploration around a 9th CTE program, and this one would be focused on education and behavioral sciences. So Eric is doing a lot of work in looking at how, again, to meet needs of a region for, also a living wage, because I know there's a lot that they put into a proposal for a new CTE program. You've probably also heard that our health science technology, or LNA, or EMT programs are hot commodities. So looking to possibly expand to a second teacher just to meet demand. They're constantly running out of seats, and they do a good job. Just going to add that. They're wonderful, great professionals on site. As always, they're working to expand their employment and workplace readiness with students. They've done a lot of on-site programming with kids around that and theming out their CTE work days. What did they call it, Sarah? Do you recall? Workforce Wednesday, I think is what they call it. Thank you. I had it and then I lost it and I put it right on the spot. Workforce Wednesday, so the kids actually break up, not by teacher in their CTE program, but by the teacher going over a specific competency around workforce readiness. And the kids really like it, and the teachers do too. Looking to expand their internships, their co-ops, their certifications, so anything to give our students who come out of a CTE program the edge, if you will. And of course, along that same lines, supporting our kids with earning industry-recognized credentials while here in high school. Again, making them look hopefully enticing to future employers. These are our current CTE programs. I don't know if I need to go through all of them. The enrollment, at CTE in the high school, we share a student population, which is lovely, but we do also have, we also receive students, so from Claremont and from Sunapee, so he's listed these numbers here for you. I don't know if you want me to speak any more to that. Okay, beautiful. Awesome. And here we have, I think this is pretty similar to what you saw in your high school presentation. So the salary for teachers changing per NTA agreement, and also with the addition of that 9th program and an LNA, health sciences teacher. So you see that represented in that first line, which also impacts health insurance, FICA, and retirement. So all of that related. And Diane, catch me if I'm saying any of this wrong. Okay, she's nodding in approval. Excellent. So tuition. This line covers the tuition for Newport students who attend CTE programs in the Claremont School District. So he's noted here that we currently send 16 students to Claremont. They have culinary over there. They think it might increase by 4 students. They do have limited seats, as we do too with our programming. So, and the last 2 lines for admin assistant and insurance look like it's based on just changes to our contract, health insurance, and of course the addition of those 2 teacher positions that I discussed. He's listed course offerings for you, which I do think they've done a great job of expanding and meeting the needs. And again, employment options after high school for our students. And he's listed here those industry recognized credentials that students can leave with, certifications for OSHA, CPR, ASE. He's also listed the Running Start programs that we offer to our students right now. And Running Start would mean that student could earn a college credit while in high school. This is just I think a little nod towards our sister site in Claremont, so the current programs that they offer over there, and as he said earlier, there's 16 students that we are currently sending to Claremont to take advantage of their programs. And here's the numbers for the education and behavioral science teacher. So that one teacher is $84,826, and with the addition of a health science technology teacher, that would also be an additional $84,826. Now, the only thing I would add for CTE is that these teaching positions, again, that's all gravy for your high school students in general. Every time another teacher comes into the building, it's another elective opportunity for our students. And I think this also would support their CTE pathway, one of those 3 pathways to graduate.
Any questions regarding CTE that we can try to answer for you?
Awesome.
Thank you. Moving on to technology.
Keep it rolling.
Oh, it's not me, it's all you, yeah.
So yeah, district technology, we had combined a lot of those budget lines that we saw earlier to a district level. So that's why a lot of the budget lines for technology look inflated. Some of the things we're looking at doing is some better increased security and safety by having better cameras and better coverage. We are looking at our software subscriptions a little bit differently, and we're able to analyze some of the usage so we know if we're going to be renewing and if we're getting the proper usage out of them. And then we're still sticking with our 5-year replacement cycle for our devices, whether it's a Chromebook or a laptop for a student or a desktop for one of the lab spaces, which helps reduce our break-fix costs and increases our reliability. Because once you keep them longer than 5 years, especially a student Chromebook, keys start falling off, screens start breaking, weird things happen. So that's all for that. These are some of the budget changes. The $65,000 budget line was moved up to the district level, which again affects the retirement, FICA and everything else, which is not on here because it was less than the $5,000. Tuition reimbursement and staff development was reduced by the $58.55. Some of that was moved into a grant. The telephone lines, which is telephone and some of our internet and cell phones, stuff like that, that was reduced by $17,000. That was based off of the last couple budget cycles, and we weren't spending as much as we thought we were going to for our communications. Software line did increase by $31,648. This is because we're bringing in a couple of different software programs, we're hoping to anyways, and then we increased those budget lines from Richards, the high school, middle school, into one top line at the district level. Equipment line went up by $50,000, roughly $50,000. Some of that is due to the additional computers and additional cameras we want to purchase. And then we reduced $5,000 from the salary line because it was moved to, again, up to the district level. So a lot of our software over the last few years we've moved to the cloud, and that has enabled us to reduce our footprint here on site. So if it's cloud-based, they're managing it, it's on their hardware. We don't have to worry about replacing servers every so many years. Because servers are just it's a big hard drive, right? And it's constantly running 24/7 with all our software on it. So we shift some of that up to the cloud because we do that. We've done that with PowerSchool Infinite Visions, which is Tyler Technologies. There's our accounting software, Destiny, which is the software we use to track our books and all of our equipment. Time Clock Plus, SNAP, which is the nurses program, Operation Hero, which is Rodney's program he uses to take care of work tickets. Paper Cut is a program we use for all the printers. It helps us to better understand our usage for our copiers. Clever is a single sign-on, and that one's actually free, which is nice. And then Aptigee is who hosts our website. Yeah. So the CTE renovation was discussed a little bit earlier. With the increase in some of these business program wants to increase by 3 seats, engineering wants to increase by a couple seats, so we have to buy some additional software and additional devices for them. Some of the programs, they are going to a dual monitor situation where, which is industry standard nowadays, to have dual monitors, especially in the AutoCAD programs and things like that, or even some of you guys in the room may work on spreadsheets, and working on one screen and toggling back and forth can be mind-numbing, so we're trying to get that industry standards. There's a lot of discussion about different display signboards going around the buildings, which you see in a lot of businesses and sports arenas and things like that. Not that we're going to be doing some jumbotron or anything like that, but it just gives us the ability to display to students things that are upcoming a little more flashier than reading an announcement over the PA system or things like that. We're going to be increasing some of our safety and security items. Again, additional cameras, better cameras, more coverage. Meeting room improvements. This room here is going to get a little facelift during the remodel. There's going to be a different board up here, and we're going to put a sound system in here so that when meetings are held in here, you'll be able to go to a mic, and it will have some speakers in here, which you'll be able to hear a little better. And then network build out. So having a new building, we got to increase our network a little bit, and some of our switches and things like that. So that's all part of the CTE renovation and the new ag building that we're building out by the basketball courts. So some of the major changes to the technology budget is capturing the non-curriculum related software. So the software budget line originally went from a couple $1,000s up to $100,000, but that's again moving all the software lines to one line. So that makes it look really large. Again, increasing the security cameras, replacing the district firewall. There's an asterisk next to that one because a lot of that's going to be covered by our E-rate money. We get money from the federal government for doing certain things. So this year, our firewall is up for renewal. Again, that thing runs 24/7. So we need to replace that every 3 to 5 years. And that a lot of that, I think 85% of that will be covered by E-rate funds. So we'll get reimbursed for some of that. And then we have a new program that is a digital signage and alert system that goes in the back of all these Promethean panels that will show an announcement on the screen if there's a lockdown or if there's a shelter-in-place notice that goes out. So in addition to getting an announcement over the PA system, it'll also show here, and it'll show what to do and how to do it. So hopefully it'll say teachers do this and students do this. So we're working on getting that rolled out. And that's part of a software line because even though it's just a little box that goes in the back, it's more of a cloud-based subscription, and it requires a software to run all those. And that's all I have.
Any questions for technology? No questions. All right, going on to transportation. She came just in time.
Apologize if you can't hear me that well. Still recovering from a cold. So currently in transportation, we're trying to add drivers. We have current certain number of buses that we're trying to possibly replace down in the future. And obviously, our biggest area is having a place for us, besides from having a little shack made out of cardboard, and a place to work on our buses. Honestly, it's cheaper for us to work on our buses versus sending it out to another company to do it. So, currently we have 7 working large buses, 2 working special ed buses, 3 vans, 1 midsize, which is a 14-passenger bus, and 2 non-working buses that we're looking to hopefully get rid of. and then 2 mid-size athletic buses. So one of the increases we have is the salaries is $31,834. That's due to the cost of living for the drivers. And we actually had a decrease of $24,879 in our non-instructional contracted services. We no longer use that item. I don't know, to be honest, how long we haven't used it. So we just eliminated that. For repairs and maintenance, we had an increase of $7,533. We had a couple of different line items in our budget line. We decided to merge it all into one. It's just we had some items go to get billed into one department and it wasn't the correct thing. So it's just easier for us to merge it into one. And then we had a decrease of $8,291, which goes to for our insurance and property and liability, which falls under building operations. This one actually hurts for increased amount of $39,405. That's due to fuel cost. All our buses run on diesel, except for a few handful that run on gasoline right now. That's due to the cost. We had another increase of $11,823 for salaries for transportation drivers. That's due to the cost of living. Again, we had another one for $14,140 due to cost of living for transportation and other services. We had a decrease of $5,409 for our insurance health. That's due to the rate changes. We had a decrease in our repairs and maintenance of $10,000. That's what I explained to you before, where we had multiple lines. It's too hard to manage. We consolidated that. We had a decrease of $5,448 in transportation and other sources. That was due to decrease of field trips. We also had a decrease of $5,000 in transportation and other sources. A lot of that is grant funded. So what I'm looking for is, like, we currently have 4 CDL drivers right now. We have 2 vacant positions. This is not counting me in that position at all. We have 2 SBC drivers who drive the vans or anything 14 passenger and below. We need to get a total of 1 additional CDL driver, which will bring us up to 7 drivers total. And that will have me as being a backup driver. And then this will help, as you guys saw from last week, from today, we ran the whole district on 2 buses. That's how short we were that day. It hurt. I mean, parents didn't get their kids until almost past 5 o'clock at night, which is unacceptable. We try not to keep a kid on the bus for more than 45 minutes. But again, we don't have people just running out the door, jumping in and saying, how can I help? Having these additional drivers will bring us back up to original routes, help with field trips, sports trips. So we hear a lot of complaints for parents from sports trips. Not much we can do on that unless we have people coming in. And an additional SBC driver, so we can have a total of 3. So we currently have 1 we outsource to take a student out, or a couple students, I should say. So that will replace that company, which will save us money in the long run. And then that person also could be used to help fill in on days where we have another driver out, they can jump in and go.
That's
Okay.
the last one. Is there any questions for transportation? You're all set. Thank you. All right, buildings and grounds. Rodney, please. Thank you, Caleb.
The last. All right, buildings and grounds. We centralized the budget, as you can kind of see in the 11 other pages of this that you saw already tonight. And my budget has kind of changed around a little bit, just due to, I've taken on a lot of other buildings' budgets, and we just moved that money to my budget lines, since I'm the one that takes care of those things. You also see an increase in electricity, and you also see an increase in heat. And we do have a project for a grease trap and piping for the kitchen. And then the big project, which will be this summer, which will be moving the partner program out of the CTE to allow that 9th program to move into that program. And for the remodel, we'll be moving that to the high school, middle school. And these are some of the changes. That first line is me, and the COLA increase for that, and that came out of the facilities. The custodians and maintenance people, they pulled me out separately now. And then you'll see the decrease there. And then you will see the insurance decrease, and then the retirement decrease as well. And then contracted services, that amount is $151,500, and that's because of the partner program that we have in there. And then the pest control, elevator, fire, and boiler inspections, which are all state mandated. And then you have the grease trap project in there as well, which would make up that amount of money. What else do we have here? Trash removal, that was individualized from building to building. It is all my trash now. It was, it was before, but we had it all broke out. So as you can see here, you can see that Richards, middle school, high school, the individuals, and then the increase for cost of living for the trash company, which came out to $98.89. And then the same way with snow removal, it was broken out per building, and I took all of that into one line, which came out to $5,148 with the increase for the COLA. And then the buildings and maintenance repairs, as you can see, it's the same thing. It came out to $106,350, and that's basically taking the SAU, Richards, the middle school, the high school, the CTE, and then some of the CTE projects that we have in there, and then the HVAC maintenance, and that came out to $106,350. And then electricity, favorite electricity, and that is still building to building, because we want to make sure that we pay attention to who's using what. So that was an inflation cost of $7,000 for SAU. And then we have natural gas or propane, and that's a change source for the SAU, which came out to $21,800. And then for the same building, SAU, it came out, we didn't lose. We saved $25,000 because we changed the heat source to propane for the majority of that building now. Let's see, furniture. Again, I took everyone's furniture money, and you can see it broke out per building. Richards, middle school, high school, and preschool. And then we just basically pulled it all into one line into facilities, and that came out to $28,809. And then when we get into buildings individually, Richards, the custodial staff, which is the COLA increase for the staff of Richards from facilities. And then you can see the health insurance increase, and then electricity. Good old electricity is $22,000 for Richards due to inflation. And then heating oil for Richards is due to inflation, which was $20,500. There is no propane there, so that is currently not an option, but it's one that we are working on. Then we go to the middle school. Electricity is $14,000 increase, and that was obviously due to inflation. And then propane at Richards, the middle school, is $23,064. And then the heating oil is minus $20,100 because we did change there, and the middle school is pretty much on propane. We have the option to turn on the oil heat if we need to, whether it's because of a maintenance problem with a boiler or a cost. We can make that change on the flip of a toggle switch. And then we go to the high school. Again, the first line is the custodial staff for the high school increase for COLA. And then the electricity there is, due to inflation, is $35,000. And then again, same as the middle school, the propane there was $37,064. And that's due to a heat change, obviously, because like the middle school, they are also running on propane for the most part, if we decided to. Then when we did save the $25,500 from not using the oil heat because of the heat change. CTE, there was a decrease in the health insurance plan was $10,875. And then propane for the CTE project also was a savings of $6,965. And then an increase in the oil due to inflation was $15,600. We're flying through those things. That's awesome. The repairs and maintenance proposed budget, the increases, electricity, 71% increase. That hurts. And then the 25% increase for heat. And a lot of that is on oil, not the propane. So that's one of the reasons why we went the high school, middle school to propane, because it was a huge cost savings and it's a whole lot more efficient than oil. Outside service, field maintenance increased by 25%. A lot of that is due to outside sources that we cannot control, the Ukraine war, which happens where I get fertilizer from apparently, has increased. And obviously COLA, because contractors are obviously, their costs have increased as well, which have driven up my cost. The outside sources, so it's services and repairs increased due to materials and labor costs. And then even if I order or the contractor orders something, the shipping cost to get it here has increased dramatically. These are the two projects that I have currently slated, the grease trap and the piping, and then moving the partner program to the C wing, upstairs to be exact, in the middle school section. And then the major changes, moving the partner program, obviously. The heating and propane is $39,340 overall. The increased cost of outside services, the new grease trap, which is $10,000, and then the increase in electricity, which is $78,000.
Are there any questions for Rodney on buildings and grounds?
Yes, Lisa. You got your hand up first.
Yeah. How is the hot water heated at Richards?
Just restate the question.
How is the hot water reheated at Richards was the question by Lisa.
Thank you.
It's heated by oil by the boiler.
My wing, oftentimes that hot water is running, and my first grade boys said they can't wash their hands because it's too hot, and I thought they're just being first grade boys. They're not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I will look into it. It's, the building has a mixing valve in it, and it might need to be adjusted, and that controls the whole hot water as far as bathrooms and stuff, whether it's, and the kitchen as well, which is part of my problem.
The other thing is, if you could explain the $130,000, you're not just moving boxes and desks.
No. So explain the $130,000 for moving the partner program. I have a quote from a contractor to come in and basically make 3 rooms into 1 room, which means moving some walls, concrete walls, some sheetrock wall. And then because the partner program, we have to have certain things have to be supplied in that room. I have to supply a kitchenette for learning, and I also have to supply a bathroom in that space, and then I have to supply individual learning spaces for some of the kids when they need that time, and then a room for them to exercise and stuff like that. So that $100,000 is to cover that cost to make all those construction needs. The $30,000 part is the response of moving the partner program. So if I take away 3 classrooms, I need to give 3 classrooms. So in order to do that, I have to refurbish other rooms to make them acceptable for either a classroom or an office. And so that $30,000 is to help either whether it's painting or moving a wall or a bathroom or whatever it may be. That $30,000 is going to offset all the people that are going to be moved out of those 3 rooms to make space for them. So that's where that comes from.
Currently, the partner program is housed in our CTE, and it cannot be there. We need to move it out. They've told us we need to move it out of that, because you're only supposed to have programs that are CTE programs in the CTE.
It's not like it'd be nice to, you have to. Like,
Yes,
that's the way
yes,
it
exactly.
should
It's
be.
not you have to. Any other questions?
I think Jeff had a question?
You answered mine on the partner program, because I was asking about that, going to ask that too. But a general question, what is the overall change in health insurance for the district that you?
Can you repeat that in there for him?
So Jeff asked, what's the overall change in the health insurance? And I'm going to defer that to Diane.
We had a 1% increase in health insurance, but a lot of it has to do with what the plans people have chosen. And so what we originally budgeted for, someone may have changed the plan since then. And,
So-
sorry, go ahead.
So people under the contracts have a choice of different plans?
No, it's
He has to
whether.
repeat that. He has to repeat
Sorry.
that. Can you, or either you can repeat what he just said.
Yeah.
You want me to say it?
I can do it.
Okay.
So what is the different, we don't have different plans, but we have like a single plan, a buyout, a 2-person plan, a family plan. So that's the difference. And there's a percentage that, depending on their contract, of what they pay.
What is the anticipated change in cost of health insurance for the district? You said it's 1% increase. but-
Well, we've done it throughout the whole thing,
Yeah, I
but
mean, some is up, some is down, 1%,
Yeah.
that's very good.
it was a good year. But there's different health insurance plans.
And I think to put that in perspective, other districts are dealing with 17%
Yeah.
increases in
No,
insurance.
1% increase for your provider is outstanding.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we're going to go over the articles that we have. If there's no other questions regarding the budget, we're going to talk a little bit about the articles.
Just want to thank you for the presentation that everyone did. It was very informative.
Oh, good.
A lot of information to go through and all, but it laid out a lot of what you did.
Thank you. And you should have in your packet, Jeff, the whole budget.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've gone, so each one of them has gone, we've gone through their entire line and given exactly what the changes are throughout the whole budget.
Right, but I
So-
appreciate all of your administrators coming tonight and presenting it. You know, hopefully people watch from home and they can watch it on NCTV in the future too.
Thank you, and thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll go ahead, I'll start with Article 1, which is to choose a moderator, a clerk, and treasurer for the ensuing 1 year, and to choose 1 member of the school board for the ensuing 3 years, and 1 member for the ensuing 1-year term. So the filing for these positions will take place at the SAU office from January 25th to February 3rd during normal business hours, which is 8 to 4. And then on February 3rd, the last day of filing, that last Friday, the SAU will remain open until 5 p.m. Any discussion about that article? Okay. All right, Article 2. I will go ahead and read this, but I want to spend some time talking about it. Shall the Newport School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget proposed with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $21,425,377. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $20,676,544, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law, or the governing body may hold 1 special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13-10, Roman numeral 10 and Roman numeral 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Note A, the above operating budget includes the sum necessary to fund a 1-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Newport School Board and the Newport Support Staff, NSS, NEA, which calls for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits. The year estimated increase for 2023-2024, that number has now changed. Sorry.
Well, no, it hasn't changed. So what I was told by the town attorney,
Okay.
or the school attorney, sorry, school district attorney, is we have to do basically a snapshot in time.
Okay.
So when we negotiated the contracts, that was the amount.
I see.
And then the budget now has some added positions, which made it change a little bit, because people have left and then
Okay, I apologize. So the year estimated increase for 2023-2024 is $332,677. A favorable vote on this article shall be considered not only the approval of the proposed operating budget for the 2023-24 fiscal year, but also the approval of the cost items set forth under Note A above. Such sums representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels in accordance with the most recent collective bargaining agreement. The tax impact is $1.85. So I just wanted to spend some time, because we have not spent a significant time talking about that collective bargaining agreement. This was something that Donna, as well as Bill and I, worked on closely with the NSS and NEA, that I personally feel very strongly about. And I don't know if you want to talk about this just a little bit and how we wanted to move forward with supporting our support staff, because they are a critical component to our schools.
Sure. One of the things that we're finding is the inability to hire staff, hire paraprofessionals or other staff, support staff, and that would be due to what we pay, right? We don't pay very much for our staff, for our support staff. And so what happens is they could, they work with our most vulnerable children, and they could go and work at a McDonald's and get paid more money, or do an LNA. We saw they said a 14-year-old could, at our last meeting, a 14-year-old could go work at the county home and make more money than what our paraprofessionals make. And paraprofessionals have to get credentialed in that area. And for especially our elementary and middle school, we're required to have them have a para certification to work with our students. And so we felt that this is one step in the right direction to help us support our students, because that's what we're lacking, right? We're lacking that support. We're not able to meet all of our IEP obligations because we're not able to attain staff. We're not able to keep staff because they're going to other districts around us because they're making more money. The value of a paraprofessional is with all of our staff, but right now I'm talking about paraprofessionals, yeah, all of our staff. But right now I'm speaking just of our support staff is very high. It's, we need them for our students to be successful, right? And like I said, we need all of our staff, but right now I'm just focusing on our support staff. I strongly recommend that we move forward with this. One of the other things that we've done is we've actually restructured the way that our paraprofessionals get paid. So how it would work is if you went online, if somebody came in and they said, well, I think I'm going to go become a paraprofessional, they go online and they look at the contract and they look and they say, oh, year 2, I'm going to make this amount of money. And then they come and they apply and they get their offer, and it's less than what it says on the actual contract. And that's because we have lumped them in. So you could be a 2 or 3 year person in the field, but yet you're only getting paid on our step 1 or potentially our step 2. And so we evened it out. So now when you look at the contract, if you are on step 3, if you've been working as a paraprofessional for 3 years, you would be on step 3. So it's easy. It's an easier read for anyone looking to come in. And I think it's extremely important position that we need to really have and focus on in our budget season.
Right, so the thought process in going into this was, we have the steps of experience, and then we also have just our rate of pay. And we really felt that aligning our staff on the appropriate step was really, really important. And so that took quite a bit of work, but I know that's a big number, Bert. But those are I cannot speak more highly of all of the support staff, and I think we will make more gains from that than we spend. So I think this is something that as a board, we need to push very, very strongly for. So, Mr. Kessler. Sure, yep.
I mean, I agree your support staff is a critical part to doing the business of educating the students, and it's important that they get this raise, but with it inside your budget, your entire budget, you know, not only depends upon people agreeing with you, but on everything else. And if they don't vote for your budget because for whatever reason, not only will the support staff not receive an increase, but the other things that are create your budget, you'll be kicked back to the current level, you know, your utility costs and all that other things. I think your default budget, whatever it is, it comes in with about a 90-cent increase from what I looked at. And the support staff is about 45-cent tax impact by itself, and it's certainly an excellent investment for the community. But, you know, it's not the only thing that Article 2, you know, passing impacts. It's your entire budget and all the changes and improvements and such, plus all the cost of doing business that we're incurring through inflation and all that's built into the budget. So it's not just the support staff you have to push in passing the budget. It's basically almost like keeping the doors open in a, you know, viable way. So.
And I would say, I completely agree with you, but I would also say we are not competitive with our support staff. And if you can go to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts and you're working daily with either all students or really challenging students, we need those people to keep our doors open too.
We're not competitive for teachers either.
No,
and
well,
we have to
that's
overcome
another
that too.
soapbox.
Well,
So,
but I mean,
yeah.
you know, we have to show, we as a community have to show our support for what's going on here.
Yeah.
You know, and in supporting this article, you know, is a good way to do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Article 3. To see if the school district will vote to authorize indefinitely until rescinded to retain year-end unassigned general funds in an amount not to exceed in any fiscal year 5% of the current fiscal year's net assessment in accordance with RSA 198:4-B Roman numeral 2. Any discussion on that one? Yes.
Not on this one. I have one other thing I want to mention on Article 2.
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. Or I can repeat it if you'd like.
Yeah. With your deliberative session coming up, I would recommend you are prepared for perhaps someone coming forward to modify your budget, say reduce it, say, well, okay, we'll support the teachers, so we'll take out whatever 45 cents worth is, and just or the support staff, you know. So at your deliberative session, hopefully everyone agrees this is good, we can afford it, or we need to afford it. But someone may come forward and say, well, I'm going to cut $500,000 out or something. I would recommend that you as a board and administration, you determine just how that would impact you and be able to discuss that. So that discussion can be had, you know, if such a thing should come forward. I hope it doesn't, but you never know at a deliberative session.
Thank you. All right. Do we want to discuss Article 3, retaining the fund balance? Go ahead. I knew you were waiting.
All right, this is not an article that I can support and have not historically supported. If we are frugal and have unspent money, easiest way to put it, then we can use it for purposes that the public didn't get to vote on. So, to me, it becomes a bypass of the system. I'm sure it won't happen here, but I will give a scenario where it could happen. Higher paying teachers leave, retire, etc. Others who make less come in. There's a difference. Multiply that by the number of teachers, and you've got a significant pot of money. Any other place that money is saved would go in for that excess money, and then the school board would sit here without voter consent, other than the consent that they would give us, which is, to me, a blank check. So, no matter what, come hell or high water, I cannot support this one. History is taught in our schools, so maybe the use of a little history here would be helpful. In 2018, 297 yes, 472 no. It failed. February of 91, 819 no's, 404 yes. It failed. 2020, 594 no's, 313 yes, failed. So, going back to our history, the budgets have been adjusted dramatically. A $1.2 million cut, a $600,000 cut have passed. We've gone through COVID, and here we are on the other side. My impression is that the average taxpayer does not feel that the school district is as frugal as they should be, I guess. And to put it in straight out terms, bad with money. In the last couple of years, including the COVID, the budgets were better under those circumstances. But now, for us to go forward and ask for the monies that we're asking for, $1.85 per thousand increase, and also to ask if there's anything left over. I would hope this budget is so frugal that there is nothing left over, and that we manage our money correctly. But if we're looking for $100, $200, $300, $400, $1 million to be unspent, I don't buy it. And if that's the case, we would have found some of that room already going forward in the budget. So I can go along with most of this, but I cannot go along with this. And history proves that it doesn't need the public doesn't want it. And what part of no don't we understand? Sorry about that, but I feel strongly about it. And I'd like to see it off the warrant, because I do not want to see us create an aura of not supporting what we're asking for. No matter how I look at it, I cannot vote yes for this. History is my foundation. And the second thing to put on that foundation is the building, which the building is, we don't know the price of it. We don't know what you can put in it, or where you're going to put the money. So, probably 5 different ways I could say no. So, I'll end it there.
Okay. We'll have to vote on the article, but can you explain why?
The reason I wanted to put it on the warrant was because the town has fund balance, and they can use it to try to balance out the increases in the tax rate and kind of level them off. So I was trying to give the school board the option to make that kind of decision and keep that money, or take the fund balance and move it into capital reserves for future projects, and kind of save the money. It's just a tool for you to try to balance the tax rate so you don't have these spikes. It's up to you whether you want to take that tool or not, or the voters, as far as allowing you to use that tool.
Okay.
My rebuttal on fund balance is the legislature in New Hampshire has decided that the town is required to hold a fund balance. And the school district is not. Is that a legislature who has made the decision that towns are good caretakers of our money and the school is not? I don't know that. But they have that requirement that we do not have. And this is asking you can take a bad superintendent, which we don't have a bad one, we got a good one, but you can take a bad superintendent and put extra money here, there, and everywhere, and get something that he knows isn't going to pass. The most important point is a pot of money, big or small, that the voter doesn't have any say on. But in this budget, we have education for people, 4,600. So let's not take it right away and think that we are the
Annual state
the
amount
ones
they pay
that,
per pupil, 4,600, right? Well, I would say it's a legislature that agrees to drastically underfund education and then tell us we aren't required to carry a fund balance.
I didn't
But
say they were.
that's all I'm going to put out there, so. All right, so we will vote on, well, we have to vote on each article, but we will vote on that. John?
I'm going to agree with Mr. Spalding on this, partly because the cost per thousand that we pay has increased dramatically simply because of the reval. So any small amount ends up being a large increase on everybody's property tax. And I understand the town uses it. Having been a selectman, I know that evening it out has always been a good thing. But right now, because things are so tight, and our reval has changed our structure completely, it's kind of reversed it. I wouldn't support this either.
Thank you, John. All right. Do you have anything to add?
Would you like a motion?
Well,
I mean, I can discuss it. Are we doing that tonight or the next month?
well, we have to motion whether or not to recommend or not recommend the article, or in the case of this article, whether or not to remove the article completely. So I would say, I was going to go through all the articles and then go back, but I think it just makes more sense.
We do
to-
have, at the end, it does say board review articles, and I
Right.
don't know if you wanted to do them as we go or at the end.
I think it makes sense to do it as we go, now that we're talking about this discussion.
Well, I don't think if we go 15 minutes from now, I'm going to change my opinion.
No, I didn't think so.
It was just giving me the opportunity to say what I thought, so that if we don't discuss it later, that everybody at least know what I was thinking.
All right, and, when you get supper on the table, it's kind of surreal meat. So let's, kicking the can down the road is...
So do I get to have my,
Oh,
do I get to
yes,
say
yes,
anything or
yeah,
not?
no, nobody's
Yes, you
nobody's
do.
stepping on your toe. Go right
I won't
ahead.
go bird on bird.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, I don't want that. So here's my take on it, is when my previous life, when I worked for the government and we had funds, nothing annoyed me more than to hear anyone say, oh, it doesn't matter, that's not my money, right? So that's, you would hear soldiers say, oh, I don't need to turn that sink off, like, I'm not paying for it, right? So I am fiscally conservative. Like $1.85 is a lot of money, but I also know that not only is the support staff, it's the teachers at the high school, it's the inflation that all of us are suffering from in our own lives, to include the teachers that get the COLA, and all the support staff. So I understand it, but I have a hard time giving my money for someone else to just sit around, not the same way that you're saying it, but basically, you know, it's just, I have a hard time with it.
Okay. So,
My
is there a
thoughts.
motion?
The hard time is, you want to see it stay on there, you have a hard time not seeing it on there?
No, I have a hard time saving money and then not giving it back to the people. So like I would be fiscally conservative and say, oh, I saved $20,000 this year, give it to a unit or someone else, right, that needs it. Where in this case, we would have $20,000 left over, and we're saying save it for when we need it next year. But what we're also saying is take off half a pence from our taxes this year, right?
Right, so I'd like to go just a little bit further to convince you so that you don't change your mind. At the end of the year, you recognize that you've got X left over. Well, at the end of the year, you got X left over. You roll that through the taxpayers, what they didn't do, by asking them to spend that for the things that you want, and they either say yes or no. That is the foundation of our government. So any bypass, as far as I'm concerned, is wrong. And at the end of the year, you got X left over. We need it for this. We ask them for it.
Can I
We
speak?
get it, we don't.
Yep. Okay. Bert, I agree with you. And the reason why I think...
Anybody else raise your hand?
Well, here's the thing what I think. I think right now we're trying to build a relationship. As a new admin team, I know what Diane, we've talked, and Diane, I know what Diane's trying to do, and I think in a few years, maybe that's the route we can go. I think right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a relationship with the community, because for so many years, things have not been up to snuff where they should be as far as finances here at the SAU level. And so I think we need to build that relationship, we need to build that rapport. And then there may be a time when the community has more faith in us as spending money and say, okay, you can do that, right? I think right now, the good thing that we have is at the end of the year, if we find as an admin team that there's something big that we need, we can just hold a meeting, ask you guys if we can hold a public hearing, and then talk to the community and say, here's what we need, will you vote for this? And so I would like to have the opportunity to build that relationship, to show that we are fiscally responsible, and see where that goes.
See that? There's a nicer way of saying let's delay it for two, because I think you're right. And I think it goes to what Mr. Kessler was saying, is we're coming up here and we're asking for this. All of us are hurting in the community. You know, we don't want to push that onto the teacher, so we need to approve it. But then, kind of what Mr. Spalding was saying, though, it's like, oh, we taxed you, we overtaxed you, and now we're going to hold on to it. And it's like, well, wait a second, give us some of our money back, right? That's the bottom line of what you're saying. And which goes with what you're saying is, all right, once we show that Diane the team has shown that they are fiscally conservative and responsible with our money, and it's like not even then it would probably be like, yeah, take it, Diane.
That's me.
Well, you control, you got the...
If anybody needs money, it's Diane.
I go along with it, not happy about it, but I will.
Sorry.
But this is what I will say, and I can't speak as to the why. But I'm going to speculate that it always seemed like a point of maybe frustration or worry as to why a special meeting wouldn't be called if there were ever a surplus of money, maybe just the concern that the answer would, or the assumption that the answer would be no. But I would say if there's any money left, then it is our responsibility as a board to ask. And, because there's just never been a special meeting since I've been on the board to do such a thing. So I can go along with it. I think it's a good plan to wait a couple of years. I like your idea better than the way, but I can follow along with that logic. But I still think if you just assume the answer is no, then it always will be. And so it's worth the ask. So that's what I would ask of the board.
And again, it's just, the reason I was putting it on the warrant, it was a tool for you to use. You could have just said, no, we're not going to keep fund balance, but you had that option.
Yep.
She had to put it out there.
Got it.
I came from the town side, so.
Angry over there?
The dichotomy between, we gotta have all of the support staff raises and benefits to get us to come up par, at least, or close to par to others, so that we can attract these people. So we've raised that a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And now you want an article that says you might have something left over?
Well,
What did I miss?
but I'm not saying it's going to be this year. I'm just saying it's a tool for future years.
I understand you did
Yeah.
the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm not beating you up, I'm beating up the article. So,
I'm okay if you take it out. I'm just,
She wanted to give you the option, that was it.
we moved in this budget over $1 million in positions this year to get the money where it should be, and et cetera. So I would like to say to the community and to the staff here, if we make the process better, we will have more credibility to get more money. And probably not see any yellow flyers. And I will say, part of the credibility problem, and I just wrote the numbers down, let's see, we've been asked for $5.55 per thousand. We've been asked for 438. And here we are at $1.85. So if somebody thought that 555 would pass, we'll be okay. But I don't think so. I think that we need to sell this, and I said we need a plan as a board. We need a strategy. We need to figure out how we're going to say what we want succinctly. This was good, but the public isn't going to see that. We can't put it to them in the deliberative session. So, anyways, thank you.
Lisa, did you want to say something?
So that it's really clear. Because the past 5 years or so, we've given money back. And I'm thinking about all of the staffing shortages we have right now, so I'm making a pretty big assumption. But where does that, every year we have extra money, where does that extra money come from?
from the lack of positions that we didn't fill. We're doing like the snow removal based on estimates. So if we have a light year of no snow, we may have money there.
And with the lack of employees, right, you got your FICA, your all
Health
that,
insurance.
so you got all that stuff too. Health insurance, if someone, we may say, okay, we're looking at, whenever we say a teacher, right, we'll say, okay, it's this amount of money because we're looking at a BA 8 with benefits. Well, we may get someone that's a BA 1 that doesn't need benefits, so that's really going to cut that cost.
So we're likely looking at a fund balance for this year.
I'm planning.
Given that.
Right now with the $1.85, I put in the revenues, 200,000 to go back.
So then the $1.85 would be less?
No, to get to the $1.85, I'm saying that we're gonna have at least 200,000 in fund balance to go back. Yeah,
Which is what
yeah,
Ed had done the
Right.
last 2 years, but it was 500,000, I believe.
right. But as
To get
time
to
goes on, we have less and less that we're giving back.
And I think making that really clear
Yeah.
to the taxpayers is good, and also making it clear to the staff, Because we see, like, what do you mean you gave $500,000 back and I had to buy books for my classroom? So I think really explaining it so everybody on both sides understands, I think is helpful.
Yeah, basically, you know, we're creating a budget on what we think it's gonna cost us for a teacher to come in, but things change. I mean, you know, they may take a buyout rather than a health insurance plan and things like that, which makes a difference. Could go the other way, too.
Yeah. What's really difficult, right, is when you plan this budget, you're planning on next year, what could be. And so that's what makes it difficult.
And we're doing it, we're starting in October at the very beginning of the school year.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mr. Kessler?
Just a couple of points. The 200,000 that's in your budget as a fund balance to keep the tax burden down to $1.85, that $200,000 is equivalent to about 27 cents of the tax rate. So it's basically keeping the tax rate 27 cents lower. Also, Mr. Spalding said in the past, the school boards have asked for $5 increases or something, and this time it's only 185, but it's 185 against a higher real value of $740 million of assessed value in town versus about 430, which it was prior to the reevaluation. So each dollar you're asking for this time is worth about $1.75 cents. So.
Okay, I think we just make a motion. I'll make a motion to remove Article 3.
Okay.
All those in favor?
I need time to think about it.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute,
you don't.
Article 2 is the operating budget.
No, Article 3.
So Article 3 is what we're moving.
Article 3 is what we're moving.
Okay, I thought you said Article 2.
No, she said
No, no, no.
I want the operating budget.
I'm sorry, I will go back, but I will go back and do Articles 2. Okay, all those in favor, you do not need time to think about it. Aye? Aye, okay. All right, so we will remove Article 3.
Yes.
I'm gonna go backwards for a minute, that way they're just done. I will move that we recommend Article 2, which is the operating budget. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Thank you. Okay. So I'm gonna go, do you want me to go with new numbers?
No, just go with the
Okay, so-
current ones, and then I'll straighten it out.
Okay. We don't usually make a motion on election of officers because we have to.
Right.
Okay, so Article 4, to change the agent to expend, to see if the school district will vote to appoint the Newport School Board as agents to expend from the School Renovation Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 1999. Do you want to talk, the next?
Thank you, Mr. Kessler.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
The next couple of articles are agents to expend, so can you just briefly talk about what that is?
Basically, we have, I think, 5 or 6 capital reserve accounts. So, is it 5? Yeah. So there's 5 capital reserve accounts, and currently, we have to go to town meeting to expend any money out of it. So it has to go before deliberative session and then to the voters. This would allow the school board, if we had an emergency for special ed, that we could actually have the school board decide to take money out of these accounts. The accounts don't have a lot of money in them. Right now, the last, as of the June 30th statement, the school renovation fund has $41,000 in it. The school future land fund has $65,000. The unanticipated education has $161,000. Transportation has $42,000, and the school field purchase is $20,000 and some change on all of them. So they're not large dollar accounts, but right now you'd have to either have a special town meeting or go before the voters to get money out of any of these accounts.
And I know Article 4 right now is talking about the school renovation capital reserve, but it does go back to Lisa's question earlier. What if we get 14 new students and we have a student that has significant needs that we didn't anticipate in the October before? and there's no money to move around, right now, we'd have to go to the town and ask a vote to get the money out of the account, as opposed to the administration coming to the board to say, this is what we need, this is why we need it. And then your elected officials make that decision. Yes.
And I think what's hard too is that if you want to have a town meeting, so if we had an emergency need for it, we could have our board meeting, we could plan a board meeting within so many days. A town meeting is a lot longer, right? Because you have to do all the prep and all the planning in so many days in advance. And so this way it would allow us to come to the board, which are elected by the townspeople, to ask for this money.
Bert?
I'm going to speak to them as a group, because it's the same for all of them, they just got different numbers. I would like to know, got part of it now, the list of what's in there, but I want a 5-year history of what's been used out of them. Now,
A 5-year history about what's been put in.
I'll be,
I'd have to do some research for that.
Wouldn't the town have to vote on it then?
Yeah, you would have been voting on it in the last 5 years. To put money into these accounts.
Or to take money out.
Or to take money out. So have you done that?
we had one school year where we were, what was it, $170,000 that we had to have, okay? So my confidence there was lost. So I'm going to ask a simple question. I'd like a 5-year history of what's come out. And if nothing has come out, then I understand its value as a savings account. Okay? You cannot run a $20 million business without having something that moves somewhere. So I'm not against it. I'm for it. But I want to know the last 5 years, what's gone in and what's come out.
Okay, well, looking at this spreadsheet, nothing went in or out last year.
There's 1 year.
But I do support knowing what's
Yeah.
going.
I can research it. It took me forever to just get this information.
And if we had this fairly soon,
Mhm.
and let's say you, on $161,000, you have 5 years with no activity whatsoever, and you say, well, how about if we actually took that out of the budget? Not the whole thing, a portion of it. But we don't know that now. We don't know its activity, we don't know anything that's happened with it. If the money's sat there stale because we didn't know it was there. It's the people's money, so for me to vote on it, I need some information.
Can I ask a question? So
Including the language that it was authorized for. Special ed what? Okay? Whatever. What the vote actually was that gave us the right to put money into it.
Okay, so I got to research the town reports. So my question is the MS9 and MS11 posted in the Newport town reports? Because that's what all these reports are, the capital reserve accounts.
No, Jeff is gone, but 9 and 11 doesn't ring a bell with me.
Okay, so it's not a published, I guess I can contact DRA and see what the history is.
Do we have to vote on these tonight?
Whether or not they're warrant articles and the board recommends them.
Well, I don't mind us having the purse strings under some circumstances, but
But the whole point is, it's not as if the board can say, hey, let's take that 160,000. I mean, the point is that there has to be a need, right? You can't just say, oh, the money's there, we need to use it. There has to be a specific need, and it has to be for the renovation capital reserve, it has to be for our buildings.
Right.
And we have to not have it in our budget.
And you have to not have it in your budget.
and if, in fact, when it was passed, it is what it was intended for, then I believe you have consent.
Right.
without going to a town meeting to get it.
Um,
But if we decided that we wanted to use it for something else, I don't believe we can do it.
I don't think you can do it anyways.
You have to use it for the purpose, whether you're expending it or it's going to a vote.
But it still boils down to, so, I have a hard, how am I going to vote for this? Don't have enough information.
So do you want to remove it for this year, let me research it, and we'll maybe try again next year?
So this final meeting, at the final meeting, we can adjourn to another day specific and have our information and vote just on those articles. That would mean calling another board meeting. I got that.
I think we have to post,
I'm sure, we have to post it by January 30th is the date we have to have everything posted for the public.
Yes, but we can have a meeting to
Right,
make
in
that
between.
decision after we've got the numbers
Mhm.
and still be timely.
Okay.
These numbers come from the town, not from our, and it took Diane a long time to get that.
I can go to the library and do some research, though, and I can contact the RA and see if I can find out. I mean, if I can't find the information, I can't find the information, and we can just,
Okay, how do you not find the information? The retention of the...
there's got to be an MS9 and an MS11 out there.
Diane, let me,
Yeah.
what was voted on is part of the minutes of the meeting and et cetera, and they have to be retained. You can't lose them. They're perpetual documents. So that's your source of what was voted for a purpose for that money. And with people being new, a new board, new employees, and et cetera, it would do us all well to know how we got that permission and what the limitations are.
Okay. So my question is this something we want to take our time? Is this a tool we think we need to have on the ballot this year? Because we will have to schedule another meeting, and I'm happy to do so. Or do we take our time? If we were to hold off on these, that's Article 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Be a mighty short warrant article. Would that help us pass our budget this year if it looks like we're asking for less?
And we can have more information to give to the public.
Right. And then we could, yeah.
Spend more time on the budget.
Spend more
less
time on the
this kind of
budget,
stuff.
spend more time on the support staff. If we're not asking to retain the fund balance, we're not asking to be agents to expend.
This may not be the right year to do it, I guess.
Well, I would hope that all of them gave us the authority already, so I'm surprised that we're having this discussion. Because if you...
He's the one that told me that they were set up to be voted on.
Let's put it this way, kids don't have right to get into the piggy bank. The parent certainly does. So, it'd be a brief meeting. I'd like to know what's there beyond what's here and its activity. And if none of them have had activity, then we leave it there, and the only thing we change is the consent. I guess I'm not against the consent, but boards change over time. And asking $5.55 a thousand is absolutely wrong. It's a disaster. It's, why was it done? Why do you go into a meeting and cut $700,000 out of your own budget when it was boiled down to this was the SAP? Oh, come on. Something's wrong.
I'm glad I wasn't here that year.
Yeah. Well, but what it really did, the harm that it did, so let's, thinking it forward, what's the next chess move? All right? When they stood up and took $700,000 out, you know how easy they made it to take another 5 out? and disgraceful to stand up there. I'd have left that board, gone sit in the crowd and spoke against. It's just wrong. So we need to act responsibly with the money. And to me, that is before we make a decision here. But giving consent to the board, if the board is not all Biden appointees, I guess I could live with that. But what if it isn't?
Well, it's the new appointees, this is bad. Had to even that out, by the way.
Okay.
So they're all, right now, as they're set now, consent of the vote.
I bet you it's consent of the legislature, which is why it's not us.
Yeah.
All right.
I would
I'll vote for it, let's go. But I want the information. I can't see that it would change my decision. We just got to,
So you want to know when they were set up and then what monies come out or been put in the last 5
I
years?
want to know what the article said that the
The
public
original
voted on.
article.
Hang on a
Okay.
second.
Yep.
There was, somebody mentioned a strategic pause on this because the $1.85.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna discuss for 5 or 6 after the town's gonna go through heated, possibly, right?
I was about to move that we hold them off till next year.
Yeah, so that's what I'm leaning towards holding it off, only because the amount of time, granted, we don't have the information in front of us, but to sit here and go through and say, hey, we have money left over from 24 years ago, we want access to spend it, then that goes back to your point, which is, what are you gonna spend this for? We're paying $1.85, just pull from these, right? It's gonna lead to more, because if we could pull from these, then Diane would be like, hey, we could maybe pull from these to reduce this, and we're looking at $1, which is right around what the default is. But I'm assuming we don't have anything really just yet that we have our eye on, but it's nice to be able to have it if we need it, like the partner room, if that would
Right.
fit in there, then that could save us in this case. But I think with the budget and all of us being tight on our pocketbooks, but you know what I mean? Like, let's just stick to the big thing, is have the discussion of why it's important and why the town hopefully supports a $1.85 tax increase. I think that's what our best bet is going into this as part of our strategy to communicate effectively and clearly, because this kind of muddies the water. Because if I was sitting in there and I wasn't paying attention for 20 minutes, and I saw someone say, you got 161,000, I would be sitting in the back, just like this, going, why don't we spend 160,000? Why you gotta take money out of my, it's exactly what I would do, and that's what I expect most of the town members would do as well. So I think that's a long way of saying let's delay. I'm with Jenna on the delay.
It's not to say that I don't support it, because I absolutely do. It's
Right.
a strategic move.
Right, and then, it'll give me a year to get all the information
Right.
before we bring it forward again next year, but I'll get it to you sooner than that.
But if
just
I
to
need a
talk about
town
it.
meeting to get to that money, then
Yeah.
we're going to hold one for that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. Done.
I think it's, and it'll be a good way for us to already start talking about it for next year, so it's not something that we're talking about tonight that's going to happen in a couple weeks. This
Right.
way we can start talking about it after, and then prepping and talking, what does that mean? What does it look like? How much money's in there? And so, I
Okay.
agree.
So that I would move, I'm going to make a big one. I'm going to move that we remove Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, Article 7, and Article 8 from the warrant articles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, very
Now,
good.
what does that give us for article?
Just
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Because Article 9, what was 9, is to hear reports
And
of
that's the
agents,
same.
auditors, and committees or officers heretofore chosen. So,
That'll be very
but
interesting.
it gives us that opportunity to strategize for that budget.
So I wanted us to talk about strategy, and I still do. I haven't made it a motion because I don't want to lead the game. I just want to be a player. And so nobody else agrees that we ought to sit down and have a strategy of exactly how we're going to make sure that we present this and get it to the point where the public buys it in the majority. I think with the standing of the test scores, that we need to make changes, and I have agreed that the support staff changes were probably the best thing that we could do now to change that. And so we got to sell it based on that premise. So, anybody else think we ought to sit down and figure out how to plan how and what we're going to do?
It should be a rehearsal, at the very least, just to make sure that the slides are readable. I mean, that's like,
Well, you have to be careful, because if we're all there, you're going to have a meeting. So, can't do that. It could be something where we alternately meet with Donna.
Okay, well,
and this.
You know, I got a partial plan. I want to take the 544 and put it on a large cardboard piece, and I want to take the 4 this, 4 that, and I want to hold one up in each hand. We're not asking for this. It's a significant difference. The same school district, same town, but we boiled it down to what we got to have. And if we can't find this, if we can't vote for this, then we're continuing down a path that's leading us nowhere.
basically,
So we got to convince the public that having that extra hand in the classroom for those children that need it is important to bring them along. How else? So that should be our strategy.
as well as the 2 teachers at the high school, because I think that's important too. But yes, this is part of the budget, those 2 teachers, as Shannon briefed it earlier. Talking non-CTE, but math and science.
The only thing that we're going to get out of the delib is a yes or no.
Right.
And what happens if we get the no?
Failure is not an option.
Okay.
Well,
So-
it's going to take some of us to be persuasive, and I think
Right,
that's his
right.
point, is
Yeah.
we don't want to get up there and we don't want to ramble. We don't want to talk about when we were in the military or when we were doing something else, right? We want to be able to say, this is, and I know that just reverberated, sorry about that, John. This is what's, I found that because my mom gave me feedback and I put it at the table. Anyway, it's a joke, my mom watches. Anyway, I lost my train of thought with my sarcasm.
Be persuasive.
Be persuasive, be concise and to the point, and that it's matter of factly. And to be honest, if you support it, because you're usually not in support of this, not out of just to say no, but you're a tax hawk in the sense of you spot it and you take them and you throw them out.
That's why I made the statement, the anchor is in the boat. And it
So,
rows a lot easier that way. So I'm not against this budget at all. I'm for it. And so I will make that statement clear. But it's got to be more than clear. It's got to be right, point blank out, this is why we're doing it. And we've got to do it. It is, it's been too many years of problems, and from my perspective, this is my opinion, of course, with things that weren't right. So we have this one opportunity now to turn a corner and say, no matter what we do, we're going to do our damnedest to do it, make it right, and we're going to support what we're asking for to the T in a forum that the public can understand it, and and hopefully we win. I think we make it through the delib. Without controversy, the delib had fallen down to about 40 voters. Then with the controversy, it came up just over 100 plus. So the question is, do we want to solicit more voters? Or do we want to remain silent and hope the 40 that come in are school employees? That's something we should discuss or think about at least. If we could get 100 people to come that understood why we've got to do this, then we've been successful on two fronts. One, we win there, and second of all, we got a greater majority.
Did we find out about Newport times?
No, we
So
didn't.
we need to find out
Yep,
about that.
absolutely.
We've already talked about the radio.
Okay, I went to the radio this morning. We can go any Tuesday with Kevin O'Nella and Steve. Can go other days if somebody thinks that was a better opportunity. I didn't ask Steve about that, but I'm absolutely sure that time would be there. And if we did 4 shows or 5 shows like that, with superintendent, school board members, and et cetera, and just go and just keep talking about it, that'll be a help.
I thought about
NCTV.
having NCTV and having a board member and maybe a support staff member that would be willing to sit down and talk about what it means to be a support staff member. What does a paraeducator do? Because it's not just for a student in need, but it can be for a whole classroom too. They are building relationships with all students too. John?
We're trying to organize a meeting possibly with Diane and Bill, who'd been involved, and then follow up with a support staff member and see if we can do that. So we're already trying to set that up. But I think we should just march on Concord. Get the whole town. We'll go out there and we'll just march down and tell them they've got to change the laws.
What else? What else do we need?
So are we gonna meet individually and prep for it? Is that the legal way to do it?
I think that's the legal way to do it.
You
Yep.
mean to actually get the minutia of?
The the minutia and the presentation of it down, yeah.
I don't think it needs to be out of the public view. Why not in the public view? As a matter of fact, at this point, I guess I'm gonna say that maybe the yellow flyer has to go into every mailbox in town.
When's our next meeting?
The 26th.
So we can talk about it next Thursday. I mean, if you've already gone to the radio and there's already other talks of going, and I don't think it would be a bad idea for different members to go in there, because how I answer a question is going to be different than you or Bill or Tim or Jenna answers it. I mean,
And maybe someone will call in and ask a question that we haven't addressed. And we cannot harm ourselves by going full public with everything.
yeah, I got nothing to hide. I mean, we
That's
talked about
right.
it right here. So.
That's right. At 5:55, I can see one board member over in the corner squeaking. The others would be quiet. So,
Do you each take an article to discuss
Usually-
out there? So do you wanna
Usually,
say-
it's just been a presentation, and then we will field any questions, and if it's a question we can't answer, then you or Diane or whomever would answer it.
Bill had volunteered to, because he's very passionate about the contract. So
Right.
I'm not speaking for him like I do for Timothy, but
He
with
did-
Bill, he did, he made that very clear.
Right.
And it doesn't mean I could get
Yeah.
up and read Article 2, and then Bill can get up and speak to the support staff contract, and somebody else could get up and speak to the fact that the default budget, is still asking a significant amount of money due to inflation and fuel costs, and somebody else can, one person just doesn't have to speak to it. And since it's the only one, we could all take a portion.
Then my next question, sorry, is what type of presentation do you want us? Do you want something full like this?
I think you're going to lose people in the numbers. I think it would be good to explain in some kind of graphic that if you had Richards, middle school, high school, that we took those lines in order to streamline the budget and put them on different SAU lines. But I would focus on what our goals have been for each school. If it's 2 new teachers at the high school and 2 at the CTE, assistant
Support
principal
staff,
at the middle school, the support staff contract, like those are our heavy hitters. That's what we're focusing on for this year.
So basically, it was the
This is
last
the cost.
slide that each one had, and just focus on those.
Yeah, I mean, you'll need
the actual.
these
schedule.
slides.
Yep.
The increases and the default budget. And you'll need the support staff table. I think if you,
You want the actual pay of the support staff, though.
we do
Yeah.
usually put up the table, but I will not read through it this year.
I remember that.
And you need this, right, you said?
I need that. Yep,
Jenna,
but as streamlined as possible, yeah.
I think we get through the delib without a tremendous amount of whatever. It's the actual vote. I think we'll find participation will be very low at the delib.
And voting, based on your history of numbers there, 700 to 1,200? What, 33,000 voters probably in the town? 2,700 and 3,500, somewhere.
Just the overview.
Yeah, we can
We'll go
talk
through it.
about how we can streamline that, and I can certainly,
It needs to
Steve
be
and I
like
can.
no more than like 4 slides. It needs to be
Right.
like
Right.
bottom line,
4
bottom
slides?
line up front,
Okay. Very bottom line, with
data.
this, off to the side, so that if people had specific questions, that we can answer.
And I'll have the other things as well.
Certainly things that I will say have been tossed around in the past is the school district doing their own flyer of this is what we're supporting and why. We need these 2 new teachers at the high school.
What, CTE? Went over the top at 80%? What? Okay. It's no secret. Putting that 8.5 by 11 card on the kitchen table changes minds.
Yeah. Go ahead. You gotta go to the microphone, or I'm gonna have to repeat what you say.
But Jenna's not repeating what you say, right?
What I would say, if CTE proved anything, if you get out, whether it's door hangers or whatever, people will come. You just gotta get out. Whether it's a flyer in the mail or a door hanger, whatever, people will come.
And they went door to door for that.
Right, that's right, they did.
Jen went door to door.
If you build it, they will come.
Well, we're going to get the money to build it first.
Exactly, but.
Can I ask a procedural question? So I'm going to go back and do the warrant articles and
finalize it, but I haven't seen the Budget Advisory Committee. And I need a recommendation one way or another.
Yeah, so I know last year, there were just challenges in getting a hold of a committee member, so emails were sent and the budget was delivered and kind of at the 11th hour.
I don't even know who they are.
We got a
You didn't watch
recommendation.
last night's selectmen's meeting.
I did not.
I couldn't get on.
Virginia went through the list of names, and we came up with a BAC meeting member, which is me.
So you approved the
So we have a problem.
So do I just
We
not
have-
put that recommendation at all on it? Just say it's recommended by the school board, and that's it?
That brings up another question. I'll answer that, but this one, tax impact is in the warrant article for the budget, and we have no other now, right? But I believe, for your knowledge, that we passed an article that it has to be included. So if we had 5 articles for other things,
Yep,
the tax impact for each article had to be included.
right.
BAC, we've done it. I don't see it happening.
Okay, so just remove that part from the warrant article, and then just have recommended by the school board and the tax impact.
Yep. We're supposed to have it as a community.
Yeah, it was on there,
But,
so. Okay.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
So, because I'll get it ready for the next meeting for all your signatures.
Okay.
We have to vote on that.
I don't think so, because we have to, it's like the officers.
Yeah.
So, it's not, we don't recommend that one, just like we don't recommend the officers. So, okay.
The last slide, I don't know if we want to just talk.
Oh, right. Thank you. All right, so our deliberative session, February 4th. It's a Saturday, 9 a.m. in the middle high school gym. And voting day will be March 14th from 8 to 7, also in the gym. All right. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you to all our administration and for everybody coming tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Always.